So I'm picking up where I left off last time. I'll turn off the has exit time. And so now if I hit play, I should just see the idle, no right hook. So that's where we left off. I've turned that off, but then this says here condition, list is empty, transitions need at least one condition or an exit time. So this is an exit time, but conditions go down here. And I haven't set anything up for conditions. So let's do that. I'm going back to my animator, and normally you might see layers on this side. This window doesn't change, but I hit parameters, nothing changes here, but this says list is empty. So the conditions and the parameters are the same, really. So what I want is to add a parameter. The plus sign. So float and integer both have to do with numbers. Boolean has to do with values that are either true or false, and a lot of tutorials will tell you to set a Boolean. And Boolean will say you turn it on, but then you have to do something else to turn it off. So for instance, if I turn on the right hook, he'll just keep doing right hooks, or it won't go back to idle until I turn it off. And I don't want that. I want a trigger. So this is a right hook, but I'm going to just call this punch. And that's my trigger for punching. And I'll create another one, and that'll be kick. So I have two triggers. I haven't used them yet, but I've created them. And then I did rename head kick because maybe in the last video you noticed it was somehow, and I can't even tell you how it happened, it became right hook 1. So I'm not sure renaming it in this context is going to help or not, but I did. We'll see if it works. And I might as well just set up these transitions again. So from box idle, right click, make transition, pull this down. From head kick, make transition, come back up. So these are, again, transitions. I need one to get from box idle to head kick and one to get back to box idle. From box idle to head kick, I click this arrow here, and I get rid of has exit time. And now I want to create a condition. Plus sign, notice that it says punch. If I drop down, I have kick. I'm going to head kick, so I'll use kick. I'll look at this transition from box idle to right hook. The condition is empty, no exit time. So I need to create a condition, and I'll use punch. So now I have set up that there's a trigger called punch that leads to the right hook. There's a trigger called kick that leads to the head kick. And to me, it seems worthwhile to look at the returns. So this is from box idle to head kick. This is from head kick to box idle. I don't want has exit time on head kick. No, I do. I want to when I go from the box idle to the head kick, I don't want an exit time. I want a condition. But when it's done, it should go immediately back to box idle. Isn't that right? Yes. So I do want an exit time here on the transition back to box idle. Let's look at red hook. The transition back to, yep, it has an exit time. So this is what the exit time looks like. And I can squeeze these exits down and make them narrower, but you may end up with glitches. So we'll see what that looks like, because I probably will squeeze some of these down to make them happen faster. Okay, so all I need to do is call this trigger with code. Punch and kick. I need those triggers. What will happen is I'll play the game, a box idle will run on the character, and then I'll set up key presses that call punch or kick. And as soon as punch is done, it will go back with its exit time to box idle, and vice, and also right hook will both will do that. So I need some code. In my assets folder, I have animations, plugins, scenes. I want to add a new folder just for what we call scripts. Right click, create folder, SCRIPTS, scripts. So that's codes. Code. Scripts are codes. I double click on it, and I want to create a script. I right click, create, and now it's not folder, but C# script. C# is the coding language of Unity. The symbol here, the hashtag symbol, actually comes from musical notation. C# is like, what is it, a half step above C. So I hit script, so now I have a new script, and while it's here, I'll just hit backspace and name it, because I really don't want the generic name. I want to name, because I'm going to have dozens of these maybe eventually. I want to name it something that I understand. So I'm going to call it animation transitions. I'm going to call it boxing transitions. Because I might have some other animation transitions I want. So now I have a script called Boxing Transitions, and I'm going to open it by double-clicking. Microsoft Visual Studio opens the code. I believe Unity should prompt you to download it if you haven't already. It shouldn't just use whatever, something else. I encourage you to get this if Unity prompts you to download it. And if it doesn't, go ahead and get it anyway, and we'll see if we need to tell Unity to default to this. It's free software. It's useful for color coding. See the color code here. These are comments. This color green is comments. These are functions. That's helpful, and it's just a great software for coding for coders. I just want to go through a little bit about this. So I have using system collections generic, Unity engine. Don't worry about these. Using means that there's libraries of code that we are including here, and we're not going to go look at them. So it's fine. We need these. Just leave them. And then we have a public class, Boxing Transitions. Notice that this name is the same as the script I created, and it should be. If you change this, make sure they both change. Mono behavior, we're just going to leave alone for now. This is a comment, and we know it's a comment because these two slashes make this a comment, and the color code tells us it's a comment. And comments are not code. This line does nothing but remind us what the next line does. This is a function. Functions make things happen in code. If you don't know anything about coding, and you don't really have to follow this tutorial, functions make things happen. Void means function in C#. And start is the name of a function that's built into Unity. It knows what this means. We didn't invent this. And these curved brackets are where a argument might go. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. We're not going to use one. Then these curly brackets, between these curly brackets, and notice if I highlight one, the open curly bracket, the closed curly bracket highlights, and this could be useful to us later to just tell us, make sure that we have our matching brackets. We're going to nest some functions within functions, and that'll be helpful. This tells us that the start function plays one time. This doesn't really say that, but it plays one time just before the first frame updates. So as the game begins, we run this one time. The update function, which is also built into Unity, it runs once per frame. So I don't know exactly if Unity is trying to run at 60 frames a second, but that doesn't really matter because your computer may slow down. Maybe you've got a lot of video processing going on in the background or something. However fast it can run, it will do this once per frame. So if it's running at 60 frames a second, this should happen 60 times every second. So that's a lot. So this is for things like conditionals, which we're going to make it conditional. And right above here, but before the start function, is a place we can put variables. So I have some code here. And it says public class boxing transition triggers. I think that's different than what we have. But that's not important. That's just the name. But here I have a variable. And it's a private variable that I created. So private just means it won't appear in the inspector. public variables appear in the inspector, and you can change the value of those variables, and that's helpful for development purposes, especially if you have game testers and play testers and play designers that aren't coders. I can change the speed of something, which was something happens by typing it into a box that appears in the that'll appear here when the code is selected. But we don't have any of those. So I have a variable. Nope. I have a variable, a private variable called Ani. This calls the animator functionality, which is built into Unity, and this is the name of the variable. I could call it Steve if I wanted to. It's a random. I can't call it just anything because there are some terms that are like animator. I couldn't call it animator with a capital A because that already exists in Unity. But I can call it Ani for animator, and it just this is what I use basically for all animation variables. So I can copy this from my code, or you can type it and put it in this this is my editor, my Unity editor. I put it in above the start function. So variables can be called before even the first start function runs. And then I have some more code. And maybe I'll minimize these so I can see them together side by side. And you'll have to type these, or I'll try to make the code available to you to copy. But it's good to try to type this stuff. So there's my this is my Unity editor, and this is just another code editor here. So I've got private animator Ani, and notice this is a semicolon, a comma with a dot over it, and those are important to these codes. I would say every command line, that's just how I think of it here, has one of these and needs one. You'll get errors without them. So notice that this section of code is a function, but there is not a semicolon at the end of this line or at the end of the curly bracket, but with the things we put inside this function, we'll have that. And what we're going to put in this function is just one line. Ani equals get component angle bracket animator angle bracket curved bracket semicolon. So this is a command line that happens in this function. Ani is the name of my variable, so my variable is going to become equal to, or it's going to become get component capital. Notice that animator capital. The animator, which is built into Unity, has just become this variable, which I can then send information to. Alright, and then I want to put two things in the update function. These are known as conditionals. This is an if conditional, and it, as I said, it will run once every frame, or probably maybe it will be I think I didn't copy, I copied a blank bit there. There we go. It'll happen probably 60 times a second. So 60 times a second, or whatever frame rate we're running at, Unity will ask itself if curved bracket input dot get key down curved bracket key code dot e. The question is, has anyone input any information by pushing a key down, specifically the key of E, the E key on the keyboard? And then we have a curly bracket, and it says it has a command. So this is if this condition is met. If somebody has pushed down the key of E, then Ani, my variable up here, which is equal to the animator, set trigger capital curved bracket quote punch unquote curved bracket semicolon. So this is a command within this conditional function. I have set the trigger to punch, and that trigger is this. Notice here's the right hook. The condition is punch. So what I've said is run that trigger. E will cause the character to punch. I have another if conditional, and I'm just copying and pasting these because I don't want to waste your time watching me type, but you will make mistakes. So we hope that we will see error messages if we make mistakes, and that will give us some information. Maybe I should get rid of something here. I will try that if I have time at the end. Get rid of one of these semicolons, and we'll get an error, and it will show us, it will say that there is a semicolon missing somewhere. Sometimes it'll say there's a semicolon missing because there's a problem before the semicolon, so it's not foolproof. If curved bracket input dot get key down, curved bracket key code dot q, curved bracket. So if anyone inputs anything by pushing a key down and that key happens to be Q, then Ani set trigger kick. And again, that's my kick trigger. Remember, a trigger. And box idle goes to head kick. There's the transition on the condition kick. So all I have to do, I think, is take this script and drag it and drop it on Banana Man. Make sure you're not dragging it on the camera or something, but there you go, on Banana Man. And then I'm going to hit play. No error messages. They would come down here, so we did a good job, but maybe I'll try to simulate one. So here's the guy. I'm going to hit E key. Okay, not happening. I'll try Q. Okay, good. It's sometimes good to have something go wrong. I'm going to look at my, I've got punch and kick, and in my right hook should at least work. I changed the name of one of these, but not the other. I don't think I changed this one. Let's just look at this transition. No exit time, kick. That's the trigger. They are triggers. Right, from box idle to right hook, punch. Here's my scripts. I dragged it onto Banana Man. I'm just going to save. E and Q do nothing. Okay, so I have a problem. I've forgotten a step or something. It wasn't running. Sometimes when play is running, you make changes and they don't save. Okay, animator. You know what? Let me show you something here and see if it has any difference here. I noticed this while we were looking at this earlier. This has using System Collections Generic, Unity Engine. And this has visual scripting. I'll just copy that, paste it in the same place, save this code. Maybe I didn't save this code after I made changes to it. That may have been it. Let's try it again. So what we're doing now is called troubleshooting. I'm just going to actually test this and see if that makes any difference. It's good to test things one at a time. Yeah. Okay, so one thing that did happen is both of these are punches. So the head kick is not happening, but I've got Q and E. So I somehow along the lines I copied the animation for punching twice. But I'm also going to get out of this, and I'm going to go back to this transition, and I'm going to get rid of this line. I think I can do this. Yep, that's made it a comment. So that's the line I just added, but I also saved, and I think I didn't save before. So I'm going to Control S, save this, and try to run it again and see if it's that line or saving that made the difference there. So it's not that line, but I am using the wrong animation. So somehow I looked at the video and I can't even see the moment that head kick became misnamed, or maybe punch became misnamed. So you know what? I'm going to actually go through this process just a little bit more. Here's Maximo, and I want this kick. I'm going to download it without skin, 60 frames a second, download. So troubleshooting is a thing, and I don't mind walking through a little troubleshooting because it's an important skill to have. So I'm signing back into Mixamo, and I wanted, there's a kick that I liked, and it was this one. I'll download it. This says with skin, so it's been a while since I've been in here, so I'll say without skin. I'll say 60 frames a second. These are both good. I put, oh, you know what? I still have it. Head kick. I'm just going to cancel this. I'll go back into my game here, into my assets, animations, and let's just, okay, so head kick, I don't think that's a good one. So I'm going to delete that one. And I'll go right click, import new asset, head kick. There we go. This is the package, so I'll go with this selected. I'll go to rig, make it humanoid from generic. I'll go to animation, change the name, and here's a good, actually this has been a pretty good detour because I realized why the name wasn't changing even though I changed it here. So this will be called head kick. It was because I didn't hit enter. There we go. So now, okay, and I also have to hit head kick. I mean, I have to hit enter and I have to hit apply. So I think I've applied everything there now. Yeah, it's not lit up anymore. And I'll just go back actually and just check rig, not lit up. So I think I've applied everything. It's called head kick now. I'll duplicate it, Control D. I can delete this head kick. There might be something to be said for not deleting these packages, but I kept them on my computer, so there they are. I'll get out of this because that's important, I think. Animator. I wonder if I can just delete that. Yeah. I'll drag head kick up here. I'll right click here, make transition to head kick. Click on right click head kick, make transition. So from box idle to head kick, I want not an exit time, but rather a trigger. And from head kick back to box idle, I do want as exit time. I'm going to try playing again. I'm going to hit the E key, the Q key. There we go. So I've got, now look how smooth this is. It goes from the idle to a punch and to a kick, and it's fading between these. So let's look at that. I'm going to choose from box idle to head kick. So from box idle to head kick, here's box idle, here's head kick. I can zoom in with my middle mouse scroll wheel. It takes this long, however long that is, to go between these two, but maybe I want to shorten that just a little bit, and I can move this over as well so that this begins, and just as that begins to fade down, and we fade in at the same time. So I've just made that a little shorter period of time for it to go into the head kick. I'll go out of the head kick and look at that, and we can try shortening that as well. The reason for you might want to do this is, you want to punch when you say punch, not a few minutes later, yeah? You know what I mean, seconds later. So that's the head kick I've just been working on, and let's see if we can see any difference. It might be subtle. So it just seems to go into it a little bit nicer, and there's still no glitching. When he recovers, there's a little stagger, but I think there's no glitch. If I tighten these too much, I might end up with glitching. So I'm going to do the same thing with the right hook. Going into the right hook, I'll just narrow this down just a little bit, but what I don't want is to get it so tight that I end up with glitching. And coming out of the right hook, I'll zoom in. That's the mouse scroll wheel, and drag this over like that. And because I don't want there to be, I want there to be as little delay as possible. It's almost glitching when it pops back into place, but I think it looks natural. Yep. And the only thing I don't like here is the kick. He recovers and turns back the way he was facing to begin with, but these punches slowly rotate him around. And I don't think I really want that. I mean, if I have a enemy that I have to punch several times, I don't want to slowly turn away from this enemy. I will try to fix that later, or I'll replace this punch. That's the end. That's as far as I wanted to get. I now have transitions between animations with commands, and then as soon as the commanded animation runs, it goes back to an idle. Next, I will do some things like attach a camera to this character and move the character around, adding another animation, probably a run animation, so it can run from place to place and punch things. And maybe I'll add a jump, so you can jump over things. And then I'll give him some stuff to punch, and you can just see that that's how a game gets made. That is the end of the lesson.